Hey, it's April from LearnDoBecome, and today we're addressing the psychology of stuff and why we want to keep everything. I'm excited you're here and hope you enjoy the videos here on our channel. Here at LearnDoBecome, we help people who are overwhelmed by the details of life to create simple systems so they can do what matters most. And as I've worked with hundreds of thousands of people over more than a decade, I found that as we're trying to organize and clean and get rid of the extra stuff, there's a lot of emotion that goes along with it. So I'm just sharing 5 little principles or ideas today that will help you perhaps to understand why you tend to want to keep things. And hopefully as we address this, you'll be able to see that it's not as hard to let go as you may have thought. All right, first, sometimes we keep things because we want to honor either people we love or our very best memories. I made a quilt when I was 18 and it was a big effort and I was really proud of it. And I had 5 girls in my group who all contributed a different piece of fabric. So the quilt represented each of them and all of my work and the completion of this big project. And I kept it for years and years, even though it was kind of tattered and I never used it. So I was feeling worried about letting go of it. However, I decided to just talk to my family and see, hey, does anyone else want this? Turns out my daughter and son-in-law said, sure, we'll use it as a picnic blanket. And that way I didn't need to keep it specifically in my closet, just sitting there. It's able to be used and I can just let go. One other quick story, I had a makeup bag that my mom gave me before she developed Alzheimer's and then eventually passed away. And I loved this makeup bag because it represented her and the love she had for me. And so I kept it for years and years and it was getting really dirty and just not optimal. But I was really struggling to let it go. And then I recorded a podcast with best-selling author Julie Morgenstern. She's a professional organizer and we were talking about this makeup bag. And she asked me a question that has really impacted me since then, and it's been resonating with our community here at LearnDoBecome as well. And this was her question. Is that bag that your mom gave you the very best way for you to remember her? And when she asked it that way, I realized I have a lot of other ways to remember my mom. Some great photos, experiences, some other things that I have of hers that I really truly love, that are beautiful. And I realized that I didn't need that specific makeup bag in order to love my mom. So being able to disassociate a random item, especially one that you don't really use or need or love, from the person, that's really helpful. You can still take a picture and have it there and visit that photo whenever you want, but you don't have to keep everything in order to honor either your memories or your loved ones. Number 2, we often hold on to clutter or excess stuff because we don't want to face our regrets. Now these regrets might come in several forms. For example, we may have purchased a lot of things that we never used. Maybe you bought some shoes and you never wore them, or you bought a dress and then you didn't fit in it and then you couldn't use it. Or maybe you bought a bunch of fun supplies or games or activities because you had this great idea that you were going to be really fun, and then you never played them or used them, and you feel like, I've wasted my opportunities or my time and my energy and my money. So I get it. And sometimes you may have purchased something that maybe was technically a waste, but that doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you can't figure it out from there. It's okay. Sometimes the regrets are about circumstances. So let's say that you had some big hopes. Maybe it was something with a relationship, or maybe it was something about your life in general. And so let's say you bought these specific items. Like let's say it was something like camping gear. And you said, oh, our family's gonna go camping and I'm going to have all this time out in nature and it's gonna be amazing. And so you buy all this camping gear. And then let's say you don't use it and it kind of gets old and gross and broken and you just can't keep it anymore. Well, maybe something happened where there was a divorce or there was a problem with the family relationships and it just didn't work to go camping. Or maybe you became the sole provider and you had to work a lot and so you didn't have time to go camping. Then of course that makes sense that when you go look at that camping gear, you're thinking about the people who let you down, or maybe the resentment over the role that you had to step into when you hadn't intended to. And that that obviously can bring up some emotions. What I'd recommend is that you give yourself grace, the same grace you would give to a friend who is going through a similar thing, and recognize, instead of saying something like, oh, I should have done this or they should have done that, you could say, it would have been optimal if I could have used all these resources, or if I'd had more time, or if I had known this would have happened prior to making all these purchases or something like that. But here's where I am right now, and I'm going to be moving forward. There are really healthy ways that you can change your mindset, and I just encourage you to do that, because letting all of those regrets sit hidden in closets, it's not going to make it better. But learning how to look at it, give yourself grace, and move forward. And a lot of times if those items still are good, they just aren't needed in your home, someone else can benefit and have some great experiences. So I want you just to take the pressure off yourself and recognize it's super common, it's super normal, nothing wrong with it. But if you are feeling regret, there's a way to move forward. Number 3, sometimes clutter becomes a physical buffer to keep us emotionally safe. Now, again, Julie Morgenstern has a book called Shed Your Stuff, Change Your Life. When I read that book, the whole introduction is talking about how often if we've experienced hardships, traumas, challenges in the past, having a lot of stuff around us helps us just to feel like we're not exposed to the world. So I want you to think about this in your life. If you really look into your heart of hearts, are you keeping extra furniture, clothing, just random things you buy at the store all around you because you have maybe some unhealed issues in your life? And if you are doing that, doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's actually very normal. But sometimes it's helpful to realize, hey, this might be a really good opportunity for me to dive a little bit deeper, maybe to read some good books on overcoming depression or anxiety, maybe working with a therapist, or maybe having a chance to just journal about how I'm feeling. And as you start letting go of those things and maybe reducing the physical buffer, and as you develop really good friendships and have trusted relationships, you're going to notice that you won't need all that stuff anymore. Number 4, the clutter and the stuff we have in our life often shows that we're very responsible people and that we want to be able to serve others. That's actually the primary thing that I've noticed from the people who come to us here at LearnDoBecome. Often they say, oh, I'm a mess, or I'm, borderline hoarder, or I just don't have my act together. And people will kind of label themselves and come feeling maybe a lot of shame. And then as I get to know them, or as they experience our programs and the things that we have here at LearnDoBecome, they realize, and I realize, that they're extremely thoughtful, caring, responsible people. So the reason why they want to keep all these random plastic containers that they don't really use is because what if someone comes over and says, hey, I need a bunch of plastic containers. Do you have any? They want to be able to say, yes, here you go. I've got it for you. Or what if someone comes to my house and they have a child who might need all these toys that my kids had, that I'm not really using anymore. Okay, maybe you could keep a few. You probably don't need all of them. But if you have a big heart, you might naturally think, I want to have everything for them. Or this really is common with people who have grown in a profession where they might have books, manuals, especially teachers. I notice this. They have all these great materials and they think, well, I put a lot of effort into creating and compiling all these. I want to have them in case anyone needs them, even though maybe people in the future would want to use more digital or updated materials. Just the fact that you put a lot of effort into it and you put a lot of love into it and you want to be there for people, that can often cause you to hold on to a lot of things. So in a case like this, obviously you can keep whatever you want to keep and have room to keep, but if you can perhaps consolidate and think realistically, what's the likelihood that someone's going to come to my door and need 15 slotted spoons? Probably pretty low, but maybe you could keep 2 extra and have maybe a little section of where you keep extra kitchen items. So just think of it logically. Worst case scenario, they could probably borrow things from other neighbors or find things online or go to an inexpensive store and get something. And of course you want to balance not being wasteful with, providing and having things in your home. But my goal is to help you to realize that you don't need to hold on to everything with this tight grip and this fear that you're going to be lacking if you don't have it. People will understand, and it's going to benefit you to get everything cleared out, decluttered, just that space. It's going to make a difference, and you're going to feel the relief, and it's going to fully outweigh any of the fears or problems that might come your way if you don't have every item. Number 5, clutter helps us to feel like a protector. So maybe you've been let down in your life. Maybe you feel like you've put your trust in people and then they didn't uphold their end of the deal. And that may have happened over and over and over again. And so what tends to happen is in our minds, we say, well, I will never be that person. I won't let anyone down. In fact, I won't even let my things down. I'm going to protect them and keep them safe. And I'm going to be that, that fortress that's going to hold everything really safe around me. And in some ways that feels good because in our minds we feel like, look, we're a hero. Look, we're even protecting the dump or waste from being filled up with these things, and we're keeping them here in our homes. But what happens is that often starts to create more weight on your shoulders, and then your home just turns into a storage unit, and you start to feel like you aren't able to be available to other people, or you can't pursue your purpose, or you can't get out more because you need to be holding down the fort. So I just encourage you to just think about that and maybe ask yourself, is there any way that I am playing the role of protector for the items that I don't even necessarily need? I love this quote by Mr. Rogers that says, if you can mention it, you can manage it. And I know the things I've talked about today might tug at your heartstrings a little bit, or you might feel a little sensitive about some of the things that you may be keeping. But really, if you're able to just start talking about it and maybe have a friend who can help you out with it, or be able to actually just sit down and work through your thoughts, I think it can really give you a lot of relief and a lot of space. Here at LearnDoBecome, our goal is to not just help you declutter because we think you need a clean house. I want to help you out of the overwhelm. So we have our STEP Command Central we teach in our STEP program. We have our Rise membership, and we have lots of resources here to be able to give you that peace of mind and really specific things that you can go through step by step to help you to be able to create that life where you are waking up excited and going to bed content. You deserve to be able to have a space that feels open and conducive to you creating your ideal life. You have a lot of love you want to give to other people. You have a lot in your heart and a lot of talents and skills and experiences that are going to be blessings for other people. And as you implement the things that we talk about here on the channel, I know you're going to feel that relief and lots of success. So thanks for being with us. See you soon at LearnDoBecome.